What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Real Reds Talk, an authentic football fan channel made in Manchester. This is your Wednesday night midweek news show. And a quick fact for you straight out of the gate. Under the previous regime, Shreyas, we had already signed a player by the 5th of July. Do you know who that player was last year?
5th of July, first player we signed. Mount or Onana?
Yeah, Mason Mount, correct. For 55
Yeah.
plus 5 in add-ons. Ineos yet to still officially bring a player through the door. I know we're working on quite a lot of deals, but no player officially yet. And that's we're going to dive into that a little bit today, some transfer bits. We're going to talk about Chiesa, Sancho swap deal. We're going to talk about Donny to Girona. We finally got a here we go on that. Camboala rejecting a new deal. Van der Gaag has officially gone. We've got a couple of quotes from Eric Ten Hag, some that we missed yesterday. And we've got an update on Lenny Yoro as well. So smash that like button, subscribe to Real Reds Talk, and get involved in the comment section. You already know the script anyway, guys. So yeah, get involved in the comment section. We'll go to those very, very shortly. Shreyas, I know personally your opinion on Chiesa, but if this is the only way we can get rid of Sancho, is it even still worth it then? Do you think?
No, I don't think so. Because once again, Chiesa will take up a spot on that starting 11 or bench where if he does come, and maybe it ends up costing a youth player or some other player actually some opportunities to actually get some minutes. And I really like Chiesa. I think he's got he's got some talent and in set games, and he's a moments player. He's still a moments player, but right now the kind of position we are in, we don't need that sort of a figure in that team right now. We have ample of players who can fit into that category, that they're moments player, or on their day they can just completely change the tide of the game altogether. But we've already got those sort of players at the club. And apart from it, I think ever since his injury, he's just not been the same player that he once was. After his ACL injury, he's just not been able to get to that level. Maybe if Ten Hag wants to switch to a two-striker formation, he might be thinking that someone like Chiesa can play out wide, can play in a two-striker formation as well, and maybe as a bench strength or a squad option if you're looking at Chiesa. And if he is actually willing to come to United and be satisfied being a squad player, not a starting player for us, then maybe there is a little bit of a potential in this deal. But I don't see him being that sort of a figure who would want to move from Juventus to United just to actually, chill on the bench. I don't see him as that sort of a player. And as far as, offloading Sancho is concerned, I would genuinely want it to be a cash deal rather than a swap deal. I don't think that a swap deal is the way to go. Especially when the swap deal concerns a winger. We've already got enough wingers. I think when it comes to wingers, we are sorted for the next season. You've got Rashford, you've got Garnacho, you've got Ahmad, and you've still got Anthony at the club, and then you've got Mount and Bruno who can slot into those positions. Xerxes is going to be coming in, who can actually feature in those positions as well. So I think when it comes to the attack with Xerxes coming in, our entire attacking line is pretty much sorted moving into next season. If, however, it was a deal where it was like Sancho or Bremer in a swap deal, I would actually consider it a lot more, because we need strength in that centre back department. We need someone to take the slot of Rafa Varane in this team. Even if it was like a midfielder coming in, like a Locatelli or someone like that, I would still entertain that, because we do need options in those areas. But in the attack, I just don't see us actually requiring someone like Chiesa right now. So I just think right now, getting a cash deal for Sancho, even if it's around a 30 or 35 million deal, I think it suits United much better.
The instant red flag is the fact, why do Juventus want to get rid of him? Because let's be honest, they've had their struggles in Syria. I know they're coming kind of back to the top now. They had a couple of stumbling blocks with new managers, etc. But if Juventus, it's like Bayern Munich. When Bayern Munich get rid of a player, and same can be said with De Ligt, but I think De Ligt's at a different stage than what Chiesa is.
Yeah.
And then Chiesa had a very significant injury, like you said, his ACL that he did. So
yeah,
it's one of those. What do we have currently, like you rightfully just said? We already have a lot of attacking players and wingers, a lot of inconsistent players, and a lot of injuries in the team. And that's like, if you're going through a checklist for Chiesa, you're going, yeah. So it's just, I don't think Ineos will even entertain this. I certainly hope they won't, because it's just, if you got to get cash for this player,
doesn't fit
to use
into
that
the
on other
category.
players.
Yeah. And once again, like you mentioned, Juve and Bayern don't really offload players that easily, especially ones that they've invested heavily in. I think
Yeah.
Delict is still a situation where it is quite different because Bayern are in a very big mess right now, and they've already got enough centre backs in their in their positions. With the fans actually not wanting the player to go at the same point as well. With Chiesa, they've Juventus have actually invested a lot in him. It took a lot for Juventus to actually get
Where did he
Chiesa
come
from
from? Was it
Fiorentina.
Fiorentina? Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah,
thought so.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. After that, had a very good season, very good first season. Got injured for an entire
Yeah.
season, didn't play football, then came back. So I just think that for Juventus to actually be going out on a limb and saying that they're ready to accept offers around 20 to 25 million for a player like Chiesa, who they invested a lot in. I just don't think that United should be anywhere near this sort of a deal right now.
No, it's one of those. I think the Italians kind of journalists are pushing it more than the UK side. You haven't seen any concrete from any of the top UK journalists on this Chiesa swap deal
Yeah,
with
the
Sancho.
only club I think that were actually interested were Villa, and
Yeah,
apart from that,
I could definitely see that. I remember they signed Leon Bailey, for example. Like, they're willing to take risks. Leon Bailey, when he was at Leverkusen, I think it was, had big injuries as well. And he was like, you know what, for the type of player that he is, dynamic, well, I will bring him in. But even Villa, they've got Diaby, they've got like I just said, Leon Bailey. Maybe they're just looking at his depth for Europe. Obviously, they're in the Champions League now, which I completely forgot about. That is crazy, by the way. Aston Villa in the Champions League. So yeah, maybe they're looking for that kind of experienced, seasoned European players who can, be a part of that squad. For United, I think we're both in agreement that it's not the move that you need to make, Chiesa. So yeah, to be honest, I'd rather keep Sancho than get Chiesa. Genuinely,
yeah,
I would rather keep Sancho.
yeah.
So that tells you everything you need to know, in my opinion. Now, Donny van de Beek, Shreyas, we've had a here we go to Girona. Deal in place with Man United. Permanent move for £500,000 fixed fee plus several add-ons. Easy add-ons to bring the fee up to €5 million, plus extra add-ons to make it €15 million. I'm guessing that's some kind of Champions League appearances or assist or
Yeah.
something along the lines of that. Contract until June 2028. United will also have a sell-on clause as well. So a nice few kind of bonuses in there for us from United's perspective. But for him, again, I know we've discussed him, but it's really, really mad how his career's turned out, innit? Like, I think it's one of the biggest fall-offs we've seen, almost. And you remember yourself, we were discussing his transfer when he signed with Ollie at the time. He was like, Ollie didn't even want the player. It was one of those, it's easy to do, so why don't we go and do it? We brought him in. Why do you think it's not worked out for Donny van de Beek?
I think looking at his career at United, it's not as much of a surprise as to why it didn't work out. When we were actually linked with him and we ended up signing him, Madrid were in the running for him, Barcelona were in the running for him, any top club around Europe were in the running for Van de Beek, and he was one of the top prospects alongside De Jong at that point of time in Europe when it came to that Ajax team that made it to the semis. When he did come, he was never used. Even if he was used in the last 2 minutes or last 3 minutes, where even in those minutes he was actually able to get a goal or have an impact on the game. And people used to actually think, why isn't he being picked over Fred or McTominay? And that dragged on for an
That
entire
was
season.
almost like a discord in its own, wasn't it? Like the people
Yeah,
say, like, the Donny, why is he not
yeah,
starting? It always seems to be the answer when they're not playing, doesn't it?
yeah. And that dragged on for one entire season. And after that season, you could say that Donny didn't really play football for one entire season in that aspect. Then when the second season came in, we ended up, Pogba came back from his injury after
Mm-hmm.
COVID. We started using that midfield of Pogba, Matic, and Bruno a lot. Then Ronaldo came in, and the other guys came in, and it ended up being a Pogba, Matic, McTominay, Fred, Bruno sort of a midfield, and you already had five guys in there. And no manager that came in actually wanted to bet on Donny, which actually ended up being a situation where Donny didn't play football for 2 whole seasons. Even when he went out on loan, he ended up getting injured after getting a couple of good
Big ones
performances.
as
But
well, wasn't it? It was big
yeah,
injuries that we're talking
yeah.
about. Yeah.
And after that, he, Ten Hag comes to United. he actually starts to get a decent run of games. He was, in Ten Hag's first season. The first decent game that he actually had ended up getting once again get ended up picking an injury in the FA Cup, or I think it was a League Cup game. He was doing well, ended up picking an injury, and ever since that injury, Fred took his spot, Bruno took the spot, Casemiro took the spot. So it just, and then Ericsson actually came through, in flying colors as well. I think in his first season he got like 10 or 11 assists throughout the season. So there was just not the space, or I don't even see, you could say that an opportunity for Donny to actually come in, and
It's
just not been his. Go ahead.
No, I was sorry. I was going to ask you, has there been cameos in your mind, though, that you've seen from Donny where you've been like, okay, I can see this? Like, I can remember one against Watford, I think it was, where he played really well. There was like a couple knocks around the corner,
I
combination.
remember that one goal under Oli that we had against Newcastle. That one goal
Yeah,
where Bruno,
Bruno, Mato,
yeah,
Rashford, Donny all involved in it, I
Rashford
think,
and
something
Donny.
like
Donny made that back
that.
heel, and then he made Bruno and Rashford made the run. So he has had good cameos. Like if people actually saw, or what he has done, or in the minutes that he used to get in that season, he did used to make a couple of good passes. He did used to have an impact on the game. But I think for a player of his caliber and quality, he deserved more minutes, especially when he came in. And I think for any player, considering the high that he came from, being a Ballon d'Or nominated midfielder, to absolutely not playing football for 2 seasons in a row, it does take an impact on, it does take a toll on any player, I would say. And after that, I think it just becomes a situation where the boat has sailed. And I think football is a sport where, you know even within a season, new names start to pop around, new players start to come through, and if you actually are not able to take your opportunity at the right time, it just doesn't work out. And right now, even now, you've got the likes of Kobe Menu coming through the academy. Like no one expected Menu to come through last season
Mhm.
and did what he did. Menu came through. Then you've already got Bruno. Mount came into the team. So eh, players keep shuffling around, new players keep coming in, and Donny just, even when he was getting opportunities, ended up getting injured. So I think with him the boat just sailed, and he
Why,
just
why,
never was available at the right time.
why do you think Girona have gambled on it?
I think Girona have actually made a big gamble because they've just lost Alex Garcia to Bayer
Yeah,
Leverkusen,
yeah.
so they needed a replacement in that midfield. They've ended up going for Donny. I understand why they did, because they
Mhm.
needed that sort of a mold of a player, good with the ball on his feet, knows, is a very intelligent and technical player, is not that player, who relies more on his physicality. And I think, considering the league that they are in and the midfield that Girona actually, play with, physicality is not an aspect they actually look into. They want players who are more skilled on the ball, who are, much more smarter on the ball. So Donny does fit into that category. I think I really hope it works out for him over there, because I think he's one of the players I just really wish that things just work out for him, because
Yeah. He seems like
just
a
not
good
fixed
lad,
for him.
don't he? That's
Yeah,
the thing.
yeah,
He seems like a good lad.
and yeah, and if somehow he's able to get some momentum in, and get some good performances in, maybe he can reach those levels again that he was
Yeah,
supposed to actually reach. And if it does happen for him, it is actually a better situation for us, because we end up getting like 10 or 15 million
exactly.
as a whole
Yeah.
fee.
Same
So
with
I
Greenwood.
just
If
wish him the best.
if Greenwood moves to Marseille, if he ends up going to Marseille, and does really well, then you get an extra 40 million there. So it's smart. That's why I'm saying the
Yeah.
little, bonus clauses and bits like this that Ineos are putting in. It's nice to see, because usually United sell a player, it's just like, oh, we'll take the 40 and then that's it. You know what I mean? So it's nice to
Yeah.
see that. I am just going to very quickly jump to the comment section because there's quite a few.
Sure.
Superfly in the chat, give them Mount also for a free as a sweet note. Stop that Superfly. We're keeping Mason. He's going to have a good season this season, trust me. Richard's in the chat, as always. Big up, Richard. Absolute legend. Always tuning into these shows, and we genuinely appreciate that. Flex Dax Greenwood says, hello, everyone. Hello to you, sir. John O'Holmany says, whatever happened later to Donny, his confidence was destroyed at the start. Carez saying I'm 12. Okay. Donny will do well at Girona and get one more move to a biggish club. Very likeable, and I still think a good player is in there. And then we've got Richard Hawkins saying, so Willie is not signing a new deal. And you just give me the perfect segue, Richard, to talk about Cambuala, because we'll move on from that Donny van de Beek. Washed our hands. Don't have to speak about him again, like many other things. Cambuala, Shreyas, this one is the one that piques my interest the most. So Willie Cambuala has rejected an offer to extend his contract, which runs until 2025. There are inquiries from the MLS, France, Bundesliga, and Spain for this player. Does that worry you a little bit, or also surprise you with Cambuala?
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised because, look, when I went through it and into his deal, it runs out in 2025. So he's only got a year left on his contract. And I think personally, considering how he featured for us this season, I think it probably would have been a smarter move for him to actually get this done before the season start itself, because I think we are still quite short in that centre back department as of now, because Delict isn't in right now, Euro isn't in right now. If Branthwaite is still an option, then probably if he comes in, they're not in the door right now. The only ones who are in right now are Lisandro, you've got Kampala, then you've got Lindelof, and then you've got Maguire. So you've got four centre backs in there, and we
really forgot.
And we know one of Lindelof and Maguire will leave. Like, we can see it happening. So going into next season, I think Kambala would have been one of those players who would have gotten much more minutes, because we are going to be playing a lot of games. The Carabao Cup, the FA Cup, the Europa League with the new system that they've introduced. There's going to be a lot of games, and I think these players are going to get a lot of opportunities. I think academy players like Harry Amas, or even I think Ethan Wheatley, if he's kept around at the club and not loaned out, they'll all will actually get a lot of minutes this season with the kind of format that is being introduced. So personally, I thought that maybe I think would have been one of the first deals to actually get done, because I still think that with academy players it is much easier to get these sort of deals done, especially when it comes to contract extensions. But if it is not, then perhaps there might be a reason as to why it is not being done, because in the games that he played for us last season, he actually made quite an a solid solid impact on
against West Ham. Did well against Liverpool. Had a bit of a shitter against Bournemouth. Then he slipped.
But I think overall, considering from a youth academy player who's not been getting minutes consistently, it's been on and off, on and off, on and off. I think he did a decent job, and I think going into next season as cover, he's a decent option to have. You've got a youngster on the bench who comes on, can make a solid appearance, can see the game out in the last 10 to 15 minutes. I think he would have been solid cover. But if it is not being completed, I think there must be a reason as to why. Maybe he's offered first team football at a at some other club, or something must be going on behind the scenes. But all I know is United won't be letting him leave on a free. So if anything is going to be happening, I think we'll get a fee for him, even if he ends up leaving.
He is one I would definitely like to keep. I think he's one that never gets mentioned, sorry. When we talk about Kobe, Ahmad, Alejandro Garnacho, all these kind of kids that are coming through, no one ever mentions Cambuala, which is weird, because I think he has all the kind of, obviously it's not at Mainu or Garnacho's level in terms of consistent performances, but I'm saying I think he has all the kind of attributes to be a top centre-back, everything you want, like a checklist. Yeah, there's things to work on, but I think there's a good prospect there. So if United was to lose out on that, I think that would be a mistake. But I'd love to hear from people who are watching behind the screen, behind the camera. What do you think, Willie Cambuala? Would you be gutted if he left? Apparently, unwilling to extend his contract. Let us know your thoughts on that one, and we'll dive into your comments as always. There has been an update on Lenny Euro, Shreyas. So we've had an update from MEN, Manchester United MEN, sorry, and then Fabrizio Romano's mentioned something about the president. So I'll read the first bit out, which I thought this bit was interesting. This is a journalist, Steve Railston, I think it is, for the MEN, saying Lisandro Martinez is the only guaranteed starter in central defence in the new campaign, and the starting role alongside him could be promised to Lenny Yoro. That would be a significant verbal offer to Yoro, considering Yoro's age and that United are making progress in a deal for Matthias de Ligt. But it could be enough to tip the scales away from Madrid in transfer negotiations. And also, this is from Romano, the president of Lille, Olivier Letang, is pushing for Lenny Yoro to join Manchester United, because obviously they've got a huge offer on the table. They're like, well, fucking take it, because we need this cash, otherwise Madrid are going to get you for free, basically. Are we enough of a persuasion for Euro? Do you think can we do it in your mind, or do you think it's just nailed on? Is going Madrid?
I think it can happen because once again, the good thing for us is that the club has accepted the offer. Now it is, it just falls into the hands of the player whether he wants to initiate the move or not. By the looks of things, I don't think Madrid is going to be going back with another offer. They've already got a. I think they're going to be going for Alfonso Davies soon in that left back position, and in that centre back department, they've already got players. You've got Alaba, you've got Rudiger, you've
Yeah,
also
they're
got
not short.
yeah, they've
Yeah.
got a lot of decent options, and in the odd game, they use Chouameni or Camavinga as centre backs as well, who do just as
And
good as
left
job.
back. Camavinga was playing left back for a stint,
Yeah,
wasn't he? For a
yeah.
while.
So
Is it Nacho
they've got
leaving
enough
though?
options.
The captain.
Yeah, Nacho's left.
Nacho's leaving,
Nacho's
isn't
left.
he? Yeah,
Yeah,
so there's
he's
a
gone.
little bit of a hole there in that sense, but I don't know. It just has Camavinga vibes, doesn't it? It just feels like
Yeah,
what they did with him. It was
just
like we wanted him 20
yeah,
million. You're like, fucking hell, go sign that player. 20 million for Camavinga is outrageous. And then Madrid were
yeah,
like, no, it's all right. We'll just sign him on a free. Don't worry about it. And you guys just like,
yeah.
oh.
So, and I think even Madrid know that when it comes to centre backs, they're honestly checked out, and apart from it, they might have a manager change as well the season after this. Ancelotti might be leaving. A new manager might come in. New names are going to be popping up, and Madrid are quite smart when it comes to these sort of transfers, especially transfers they make for the longer run. Euro is 18, but they've still got Militao who's 26 or 27. Alaba is and Rudiger are I think 30 or 31 or something around that sort of an age. But when you look at their attack and midfield, they're sorted for the next 10 15 seasons.
I've just pulled up a list here, right, just to remind myself. I already know quite a lot of players anyway, but just for people, this is Real Madrid's squad going into next season, yeah, and they're probably going to add more signings on top of this. Mbappe, Bellingham, Arda Güler, who's just had a phenomenal tournament with Turkey, Vinicius Junior, Rodrigo, Courtois, Carvajal, Lunin, Valverde, Camavinga, Rudiger, Brahim Diaz, Ferland Mendy, David Alaba, Eder Militao, Chouamini, even players like Shreyas, who's like really good technical players. Like that is a joke. That is an absolute joke in it when you look at that squad. And the age profile as well, which United are obviously trying to improve on. Crazy.
They're winning another Champions League next season.
Yeah. How could they not? How could they win one this season, add that talent, and not win another Champions League and not win? Like, they are absolutely cooking, man. Like David says in the chat. Joseph Alou says, good news. John saying, very surprised he's got a chance at United, on about Kamwala, of course. David Harrington saying, Phil Jones will be cleaning his pink boots as we speak. I certainly hope not. I'd like to keep him, but he must be looking at all the centre-backs being bid for, plus Maguire and Lindelof still at the club. Martinez a guaranteed starter. He's never going to play. Abdulsum says, Euro, here we go. I fucking wish. Sam's in the chat saying, Lenny Euro has never said, I'm not joining Manchester United. He's not totally said no to United, despite his preference for Real Madrid. Real Madrid want Davis from Bayern too. Yeah, like Shreyas just mentioned as well. Wouldn't stay up in the Prem. And Brian's in the chat as well saying, afternoon, lads. Hope you're all well. Driving, so can't text, but listening in. Currently stopped in traffic. Well, I hope the traffic isn't too much for you, Brian, and you get home, you get that brew down your neck. And I was just saying you can watch England, but obviously you don't give a shit about England because you're Irish. Anyway, moving swiftly forward. We're going to talk a little bit about the staff and a couple of changes up top, Shreyas. Some more changes. Van der Gaag, so Ten Hag's assistant, Mitchell Van der Gaag, has left United and his contract has been terminated. And we're waiting the pending arrival of Ruud van Nistelrooy as well. One, do you think this got covered as much for an assistant who's been in? You know, obviously the manager gets all the glory with winning the trophies and stuff. But the assistants seem to get just put on the shelf, don't they? This news got announced. It's like no one gives a shit. But he's obviously been a part of what we've been doing. Why do you think Ineos have just gone, it's in a bit, we're bringing in Ruud? Bit
They want
isn't it?
Yeah, and they're very swift as well when it comes to making these sort of changes. Like Ruud van Nistelrooy got signed within a week itself, as to when it was
did as well, didn't it?
Yeah, and I think they're trying to get the people in who can actually merge with Ten Hag's philosophy to a full 100%. Like there's absolutely no gap in interpretation or any communication. They just want the complete picture out there for the players, no hesitation and no confusion, and just to put it all out on the pitch for the players. I I think I think what sort of an impact it has on the team, that we'll only be able to see when preseason kicks in and we
Mhm.
actually start to see certain changes when it comes to the way we play. But I do think that even these sort of things do have an impact, and especially with Ruud van Nistelrooy coming in, I think a lot of these strikers will actually be more excited and more pumped to actually start the season fresh and start the season full guns blazing. And that goes for Xerxes, that goes for Rashford, that goes for Hoyland as well. All three of these players, I think, would be looking to learn and actually gain as much as they can.
Yeah.
And with Rene Haag coming in, what sort of a role he has, how will he be impacting the team, how will he be able to be responsible in integrating the team, and how him, Ruud and Eric Ten Hag combine as a team,
Mm.
on that borderline. I mean, I still remember, I think under Ragnick we used to have Darren Fletcher on the borderline, you
Yeah.
know
You remember Ragnick? What he said?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I don't know what he
I
does.
don't
It's
know what
just
job he does.
no,
Yeah.
right.
So
And can I just read this quote off you? So, sorry, I'll let you carry on after it, but it kind of ties in with what we're just talking about right now.
yeah.
Eric Ten Hag says, this is in an interview he did yesterday, 4 weeks ago, it was chaos here. Now it is very professionally organised. We have everything nearby and good conditions. And he was very... He wouldn't go bold on that when he got asked about it in interviews, would he? He'd always say, like, oh, we're working on things, we have John Murtaugh's good. To go from that to 4 weeks ago, it was absolute chaos. It tells you everything you need to know in regards to the structure
Yeah,
and things ongoing.
because they've genuinely been organizing every single department that wasn't organized, and that means every single department at United, nothing was organized, it was all chaos. And now they've actually got a good structure, and they've got Omar Berada in, they've got Ashworth in, they've got Jason Wilcox, they've also got people like Ruud van Nistelrooy and Rene Haak in, and things are just looking a lot more positive and stable than what they did at United in the past few seasons. And I think having that sort of a structure in does make the job for a manager actually a lot more easier. You've got a stable setup behind you who's going to be working. I think this is the first time I've ever seen no leaks coming in from Manchester United during the transfer window itself. Because
I know.
earlier on, even last season, an offer for Mason Mount used to be going in. We used to know a day before that an offer is going to be going in and what sort of an offer would be going in, and we initially, we used to know whether it will be accepted or rejected. Nobody even knew that we are in for Lenny Euro the way we were. Nobody even knew we put an offer for 42 million or whatever it is after it was put in. This is the first time it has been happening in United after so much time. So obviously there have genuinely been a lot more changes, and I genuinely hope that Ten Hag with this reorganized structure is actually able to blossom, because I think
Yeah.
he can. I think he's very near to it as well, because I think he's the first manager to actually survive two full seasons at Manchester United. He's very near to actually assembling a full squad of just his own players.
Mm,
So I think he, out of all the managers that we've had before, has the perfect setup to actually take
exactly.
this team to the next level.
Yeah, it feels like the pressure's on him now, doesn't it? Like, if he doesn't deliver this season, you've got no excuses whatsoever, really. Even if you have injuries, because the depth that you have
Yeah,
with the players coming in,
I
if we
think
do
this
bring in
season.
Ugarte, Xerxes, Delete, Brandwaite, whoever it is, then you've got cover there. Enough cover,
Yeah,
in
yeah.
my opinion. So,
I
pressure's
think
on.
if we get those players in, like you mentioned, if Ugarte comes in,
Hmm.
if Xerxes comes in, Delict or Branthwaite or Euro, one of them comes in, and another left back actually ends up coming
Yeah,
in the door as well. It just means that there's genuinely no scope for any excuses this
yeah,
season. You've
yeah,
got your options on the bench as well. You've got players from the academy coming through as well. If he doesn't make top four this season, I think it will be curtains for him if he
yes.
doesn't make it this season. I think this is the
Unless,
best opportunity that he'll actually ever get.
unless he doesn't make top four, wins the Europa League, and gets into the Champions League through that way. Would that also surprise you? Because you're saying eighth
I
position,
would still take
any
that. I
other
would
manager
genuinely still
would
take.
have been gone, wouldn't
Yeah,
they?
I would still take that, but I would only take it if I actually see a different style of United and
Yes,
a
yes.
positive structure of United playing on the
Yeah,
pitch. That's
agreed.
I think that's the baseline.
Yeah, and you can see there's actual progression in the way. Yeah, 100%
Yeah,
agree with that. Now, of course, we've been speaking about De Ligt and Xerxes and these kind of, and Van der Gaag and Erik ten Hag, and the theme with all of them is the fact that they're Dutch. Now, England are playing the Dutch tonight, Shreyas, as I'm sure you're aware, at 8 o'clock. I just want to finish off on this. I've just seen an image on Twitter, so anyone who saw a picture just kind of flash up before, this is what it was. And again, I don't know if you can see this, Shreyas. This is, so all the fans surrounding the bus, basically. That is absolutely nuts, by the way. Have a look at that for people who are in. The Dutch fans are absolutely crazy. It's like a parade.
oh,
It's like they've won the Euros. Absolutely mental. So yeah, they're turning up in numbers. They had like a flight delayed. There was like a load of shit going on, basically. But yeah, just from a neutral perspective, Shreyas, how do you see this game going tonight? Because if I was to do a prediction, I'm going to go obviously with my heart rather than my head. You've got a level perspective. So what do you reckon?
I think both teams play slow football. Like genuinely, the both teams play really, really slow football. I think Netherlands will change to a back three as well in this game. Like
Interesting.
looking at England, yeah, and Ronald Koeman, the way he plays, he's never a sort of a manager who makes his own decision. He's a very reactive manager. He sees a back four, he plays a back four. He sees a back five, he plays a back five. So, and the way England played in the last game with a back five, I think Koeman will go with a back five as well. Um, Looking into the attack, I think Netherlands, because of Gakpo, do have an edge in that attack because Gakpo has been doing very very well
He's
in
been
this
good.
Euros.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when it comes to the midfield, I think Netherlands midfield isn't as strong. I think England do have an advantage if they end up going with Menu and Rice in that midfield. I think they've got an advantage in midfield, but apart from that, it's all it's a genuinely
Pretty
open
level.
game, and
Yeah.
yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if this game actually ends up going to pens on a nil-nil scoreline because genuinely both the teams play really slow football. And with the sort of with Koeman, at least I see him, making choices like Xavi Simons. If he is not working, he does end up changing.
Hmm.
Gakpo is there. You've got Memphis Depay. You've got options like Coop Miners and other options on the bench as well. They've got a good setup with the bench as well. Netherlands. With England, the problem is Southgate sticks to the players he got. He's still going to play Foden. He's still going to play Saka. He's still going to play Kane. He's not going to, put in the likes of like a Cole Palmer in, or an Ollie Watkins in just to change things about, even though they've had absolutely amazing seasons for their
Hmm.
club. And one thing I would say throughout this tournament, the minutes that Cole Palmer has got, he's actually done justice to them as well. Like whenever he is on, at least something happens on the pitch whenever he's playing. And that is something that England do need right now. They need some creativity, they need some flair on the ball. And out of all the attackers that have featured for them, I think Palmer is the only one that does offer that.
I know this sounds defeatist, but like I'm sure you did, I watched Spain versus France yesterday. And I'm telling you now, we ain't beating that Spain team in the final. Whether
I think anyone
Netherlands,
who goes in that final is going to get smacked up by Spain.
they look so good. So good. Lamal, at the age of 16,
That
doing
goal
bits
from
like
Yamal,
that
yeah.
is, oh my God. That is like one of the
He's
moments. That's his big moment. Like that. You know, you look back at like highlights from like huge players when the first, like Rooney, for example, Euro 2004 or Ronaldo, or like that is one of them things you'll look back in 10 years and be like, I remember that, like
He's only
crazy.
16. And he's
16.
just 16 years old and he's at this level.
It is
Next
mad.
5 seasons, he can
He's gonna
he can become a
start.
very gifted player.
He's gonna start in a final for Spain in the Euros at the age of 16. That's just when you
As the
deep
main
that.
man.
Yeah, as them two wings in particular, Nico Williams and Lamal are just absolutely tearing it up. And it's not even that; it's the fluency. Even Olmo, coming into the team, he was
Yeah.
like the Golden Boot winner at the minute. You've got Fabian Ruiz. Oh my God, didn't realize what a player he was.
You've
Rodri
got
alongside him.
Rodri, Merino, Mendy, who
Oh,
have not, to rotate with.
it's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. So look, I think. I have a feeling Netherlands are going to beat us tonight. I just have a feeling, but like I said, whoever goes through, it's Spain's tournament. 100% believe that.
Yeah.
Anything can happen on a final game, a one-off, I understand. But if you watch Spain play and how they move the ball, how they press, how they keep it, 1v1s, like in every
If
dynamic on the
Southgate
football
sticks to the
pitch.
way he's playing in that final, Spain will have no trouble actually lifting the trophy.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. But I think tonight might be a bit of a tough watch again. I mean, like 3 shots apiece, extra time, probably knocked out in extra time or pens, I'm guessing. But who knows? Obviously, I want England to reach a final. But if we do get to a final and we lose a final again, that is just going to be, back-to-back
And then imagine
finals.
Southgate ends up staying after it that I made a final.
No, won't happen. I think he's gone regardless if he wins or loses it, in my opinion. Now, before we head off, we did put a poll up at the start of the show, which is very surprising. Jesus. We put Chiesa for Sancho, just a question to throw out there. 59% said yes, and 41% said no, get money. So 59% of you would take Chiesa for Sancho. That's concerning.
I think everyone is just sick of Sancho.
I'd rather get money personally, but look, football's all about opinion. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I appreciate every single one of you, whether you're watching this live or watching this later on. Please do hit that subscribe button if you're new, share to a friend, smash a like on the video, and me and Shreyas will see you guys in the next one. Thank you very much for your time, Shreyas. Appreciate you, brother.
Yeah. See ya.
Awesome. See you later, guys.